Hey everyone, welcome to Down the Road. We've got a lot planned for you today. We're going to get a chance to visit with Tim Mathern, state senator for a long time. I served with Tim, well, every year I was in, and that was 14 years, and that was a while ago now. But Tim's been a leader when it comes to human rights issues and been a leader when it comes to the very thing we want to talk to him today about, which is treating people in a decent way with a hope towards the future. We're going to be talking about the refugee resettlement. And we're going to get a chance to visit with Tim about the fact that, you know what, we've got a problem with Lutheran social services going broke. And so what does North Dakota do about that? How do we resettle our refugees? We'll talk to Senator Mathern about that. But before all of that, this is a real honor. I get to speak to Professor of Law Paul Schiff Berman, and we're going to talk to him from the George Washington University. Professor, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Happy to be here.
I have a family member that went to George Washington. He's always throwing that up in my face, so know that. I've got some ties, but he always teases me a little bit. So there.
Good to know. Good to know.
I want to talk to you a little bit, if we can, about this second impeachment. And the first one I've got to ask is, can you do it? Can you do it after a man's no longer president? Can you impeach him?
Well, so the Constitution is not crystal clear on that question. It doesn't specifically say one way or another. Most scholars and historians who have looked at it would tell you that that you certainly can impeach after someone's not in office. Partly because that was actually the practice in England at the time and in fact there was an actual impeachment going on at the time that the Constitution was framed. So it's pretty clear that the people drafting the Constitution were thinking of it that way. And obviously there's an important opportunity to both make a statement about the legality of the president's actions and also to stop him from ever holding office in the future. And if you couldn't do that, then unless they were in office, it would mean that someone who was about to be impeached could always resign at the very last minute and avoid the whole impeachment thing. And therefore, you would never be able to impose the penalty that's in the Constitution, which is preventing someone from ever holding office, federal office again.
Well, one of the arguments that I was making to someone from the different side of the aisle from me, and he said, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? He said, it isn't even legal to do. And I said, well, when are you going to pay some price politically, whether it is or through the law, for an insurrection, for an attempted coup? And so there's no president going to do this in the middle of a term. They're going to try to overthrow the government when they don't like the results of an election. So to me, that would have to be one of the arguments that's made to the Supreme Court if people are saying you can't do this. Professor, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, you froze for a second. But
okay.
I completely agree. If you could avoid the consequences of your action while in office simply by either finishing your term or, as I said before, resigning at the last minute, and then you avoid any consequences, it would seem as if impeachment you would never be able to impose the penalty that the Constitution actually has in the text. So that suggests that the framers were assuming that you would be able to impeach after the fact.
So if you're the Republican Party right now, and it broke out yesterday where only 5 said that the trial needs to go forward. So obviously this is getting to be somewhat of a partisan thing. But if you look at the 17 needed to convict, I don't think there's any question that it's going to be a tough time getting to that number, that the president will in fact be convicted. That being said, if you look at how this whole process is playing out, if you're the Republican Party, could this be used as a tool, or could there just simply be a vote where it's my understanding it's just a majority vote to make sure that he never can hold office again? Does there need to be a conviction first before you can hold that second vote?
I think there would need to be a conviction first. I don't think there's really any mechanism to deny someone the ability to run for office absent the impeachment process, at least nothing that I know of in the Constitution. And you could imagine that could be really problematic. I mean, you know, if one party had the majority, in theory, they could vote that no member of the other party could ever run for office, and then they would win all elections from then on. So that seems problematic. So I doubt that's possible. I do think, you know, whether or not the Republicans are actually going to vote to convict, and I agree with you that it seems currently like that's a long shot. I sort of think this is unavoidable. You know, people have talked about, well, maybe the Democrats shouldn't do this, and they've got COVID relief and other kinds of legislative priorities and so forth. But, you know, this was an unprecedented event. This was a planned insurrection that the President of the United States fomented against his own government. We have never seen that. So there has to be a legal process to at least say this is not okay. And if the Republicans, because they are so beholden to the Trump base, are unwilling to vote for it, are unwilling to do their service as actual Americans as opposed to Republican Party members, then that's unfortunate, but at least that will be on the record and we'll know who was willing to put country ahead of party and who wasn't. And so I think as a legal matter, this has to go forward, even if it's unsuccessful.
Is there any, do you believe that more information might be coming out? And here's what I'm building up to with that. Political ambition. There's no doubt that Liz Cheney has political ambition. There's also no doubt that Wyoming is just as red of a state as the one that I'm sitting in right now, as North Dakota, if not redder. And so if you look at that and you couple it with the fact that she's ambitious, her vote to impeach is a pretty bold vote, unless she knows something. And her dad can't be more wired into Washington politics than what Dick Cheney, former vice president, is. He signed a letter with 9 other secretaries of defense telling the Defense Department, don't do it. If there's an attempted insurrection, don't play a role in all of that. What I'm building up to here, Professor, is do you think the Cheneys know something, and do you think more is going to come out during this trial?
It's an interesting question. You know, I certainly think it was very telling that Dick Cheney really kind of organized that letter. And of course, it was right about at the same time that that then a few days later, McConnell started at least making noises that maybe he would also then later vote for impeachment. So they're sort of, you know, they're hedging their bets, I guess I would say. And maybe there is more about coordination with the White House between the those who rioted and stormed the Capitol and operatives at the White House, maybe the president himself, who knows, that could come out. You know, whether that would make a difference in this environment, even that, I don't know. I mean, you know, everyone who came out against Trump right after the insurrection is now getting punished with, you know, with primary threats and so on and so forth. And so a lot of them are scared. And that's unfortunate, but that's kind of the current state of the Republican Party. And so either it's going to knock Cheney down ultimately, or maybe she can somehow prevail and show that she was right. We'll have to see what the future of the Republican Party holds.
Well, and that's why I come to believe that there's more information coming. I call it the old Coke Stevens. If you've read the last, I mean, you got this cup of coffee and the cup of coffee's too hot, so you just set it over here and let it cool down before we get to that. Well, in this particular...
But would it make a difference, though,
No.
Joel? I mean,
no,
you know,
it won't.
If it came out that Trump himself told the people in advance to go storm the Capitol, I think the Republicans still wouldn't vote to convict.
I couldn't agree more. Now, you tell me. As someone who comes from a deep red state, how do you deprogram that? How do you when you're sitting there visiting with a guy you used to referee football with, good buddy, I've hunted, I've fished with him. He's a Republican, I'm a Democrat. But he sits there and says, well, man, those people were fired up. And, I mean, come on, we need, and this is the line they always use. We need to just move past it and move on. And it's like, did you see that? They tried to overthrow our government. Did you see that? I don't know how you convince him that what happened is worthy of a conviction. I just don't.
I think I think you don't convince that person. I think, there's more of a long-term question, which is I think there is clearly a kind of insurrectionist, white supremacist wing now of the Republican Party. And that group has to be hounded and cut down and arrested and taken off platforms and just made into pariahs and to make their organizing as difficult as possible. And if you can hive off that group, I think there's a much larger group of Republicans that are currently sort of on the Trump train, but over time might not be. And I think that's the only long-term solution, is to hive off the violent extremists.
I know we only have just a couple of minutes left here, but I have to ask you this, because if you think about it, you got a congresswoman in Colorado, you've got another one in Georgia that just are, they are all in on Donald Trump. They are all in on bringing weapons in. I mean, these two don't care. There's no repercussion. They're in such safe Republican districts that they can go ahead and mock and tease and incite themselves. I mean, they can. They can incite the very things that we're sitting here fighting. How do you get them out? How do you get them out of Congress? Is money the key? Is having the Walmarts of the world say, you know what, we're not in this anymore. We're not giving money. Is money the key to all this, Professor?
Well, I don't know, because, as corporate money is disappearing, perhaps, but it may be that it's picked up by small money donations from, crazed insurrectionists. So I don't know whether money is going to make a difference. I do think that long term the problem is a structural one, which is that we have an electoral college system and a Senate which is geared to creating a safe Republican majority, even if they don't hold a majority of the American people. And so that's a problem for democracy, but it's also a problem for the Republican Party, because usually if you lose the popular vote 7 out of 8 times, you would have a moment where you'd say, gosh, we need to do something different. That feedback loop is not happening because they can win elections without having a majority of the popular vote. And that's a long-term problem, both for the democracy and for the Republican Party as being anything other than a fringe party.
Professor, I could do this all day. Thank you. Thank you for coming down the road with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm happy to come back anytime.
When we come back, State Senator Tim Mathern, he's been helping people get settled in this country and become Americans more than anyone I know. When we come back, we'll get a chance to visit with him about what North Dakota does now after Lutheran Social Services went broke. Let's visit right after this.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink for trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Heroes and Icons is now Cozy TV. Don't worry, you'll still get your favorite Beck News programming without changing the channel. Real people, real news, Beck News.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
You know, welcome back to Down the Road. For 14 years, I served in the North Dakota State Senate. And when you go there, there's people that you knew that were there before you got there. One of the individuals that I knew about, that I had seen in his role as a state senator and had admired, was Tim Mathern from Fargo. Tim has been a champion of many of the things that it's not easy to be a champion for, because you don't always get lobbyist dollars, you don't always get the big steak dinner like some of these guys are after, but what you do get is, you know, you get that smile on your face because you made a difference in somebody's lives. That's who Tim Mathern is. In North Dakota, we got a problem. Lutheran Social Services, they went broke, is what they did. They had to shut her down. And so you've got a program that deals with refugees, and Tim's been at the heart and soul of how we treat our fellow human beings just that way, as human beings, and give them a start at a new life. I wanted to talk to Tim about that. Senator Mathern, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hey, good to be here, Joel, and appreciate the invitation.
Well, your fingerprints are all over this. I saw Doug Burgum and others come out with a plan of the state picking up that void. And so I'm curious, number one, if you played a role in it. Number two, if they've gone far enough. What's your take on the state now handling some of the refugee resettlement issues?
Well, I just want you to know that I asked the governor and some other leaders in the state to actually come in and help Lutheran Social Services. That agency should not be going defunct. And I told these people, come on, when the oil companies wanted $17 million, we wrote them out a check during the interim. And I don't pretend to understand all the issues regarding LSS, but I know they've been an important agency in our state. They need to continue being there, and we should help them out in their coming back. But getting to your specific proposal or question regarding resettlement, yes, I think it's important that resettlement be addressed by the state. I think another private agency could have done it. But if the state's going to do it, I say don't just come in and do a little smiley face that we're going to help out. I say, come on, what do we need in our state? We need employees. We need workers. We need families. In fact, I told his chief of staff the other day, what you ought to do is take some Department of Commerce people and take their job descriptions and turn it into refugee resettlement. And don't just paper over this with a smiley face. Actually do it. Let's get some people here. Let's get them working. Let's get them part of our economy.
All the while you're taking federal funds, which is really what this is about.
Yeah.
We don't want to lose the federal grants, so we better step in, or else that federal money is going to go somewhere else. I'm with you. And what's interesting about this is we did have the governor on with us, and the governor spoke to this, and I took what he said as a real positive in regards to, the Human Service Department and others getting involved. I get that. I appreciate it, and there is a void there. Both you and I know that. But that being said, right after that conversation on the radio, Tim, I started getting calls. And I'm not going to try to pretend I got 50 calls, but I certainly ended up getting double-digit calls, and those calls were about workers. And they were concerned about COVID. They were concerned that these farm workers aren't going to be able to get here, this farm labor. These people are starting to realize, Tim, what it's like to not be able to access the help you're talking about.
I just talked about the buffalo slaughtering plant up in New Rockford. It's really new Americans and people coming from other parts of the country that are operating that business, and it's prevalent in Fargo. Almost all of our nursing homes and all of our group care homes, all of our manufacturing plants are using and employing new Americans. And that's the only way our economy is going to change. And you go back to rural America, rural North Dakota. Years ago, when we needed workers, we stole the young people from rural North Dakota. We brought them all into Fargo and our big towns. Then we start stealing the adults. So we have emptied rural North Dakota. Then now we've been taking people from Minnesota through our college system. Well, where are we going to go next? Well, I think it's around the world. It's refugees, it's immigrants, it's new Americans. And our state needs these people, or our economy is going to stay flat.
Let me throw some numbers at you that I know you recognize, having grown up in the Edgeley area and know what it's like happening. And you may live in Fargo now, but know what's happening in the rural area. You've always been great that way. I was one of 46 that graduated from Hankinson High School in 1980. Okay? We weren't the biggest class, but we were pretty close to the biggest class. That was a significant class. When my daughter, who is 36 years old now, graduated from Hankinson High School, it was 22. Right. When you look at the numbers now, Tim, it's less. It's less than that 22. You look at the Class B basketball teams, it's like bump, 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 bump. It's all these different towns have come together. If we don't, we're running out of people, Tim. Right. I mean,
right.
Senator Mathern, do they get that in Bismarck?
Well, I don't think so yet, but I'm going to push it. And I'm on the Appropriations Committee. We have all of these people coming up and telling us how they're going to start their businesses, and we give this incentive and that incentive. And I say, okay, who you're going to employ? I mean, it's not a big deal that you can bring a new company into your town if you can't have employees there. And right now, they're coming to Fargo. They're coming to Bismarck. That's not good enough. We can't run this state by two big towns. And that means we have to be attentive to education in the rural areas. We have to be attentive to making sure that people have an ability to live there. And we have to be supportive of these new Americans. I spoke with a new American family that had been in Fargo for 11 years. I took them out to a rural area. They said they'd never been out of town in their all those years. And I think here's an opportunity. How do we make sure that people experience all of North Dakota? And so I think the governor has an opportunity here to do something that's actually workful and workable for Main Street, or he can squander it away by just putting a smiley face on and getting a check from the feds.
You know, we just went through 4 horrific years of treating those new Americans, treating people of color, treating people that of a different culture as though they were less than anyone else was. And so, you know, there is a new face in that Oval Office. I get that. But that wound isn't going to heal right away. In fact, some of the individuals that we're trying to get to realize how that labor force and other things are needed, how neighbors are needed. Some of those individuals feel empowered to basically use that, I'm going to use the word hate, as a tool and justify it because they had their guy. How do we deprogram that, Tim? How do we change that?
Well, it's going to be tough. You know politics, long-term politics, and many years ago we used to speak about Tip O'Neill, who was a leader in the House, to say all politics is local. It has turned around the opposite. All politics is national. And really, that has happened through the Trump years. He has driven the agenda, and people have voted basically following him. And it really doesn't matter who you are in some of these local races. What values you have and what's your expertise and your education. It's more like, do you follow the national agenda or not? Yeah. And that has led to a dramatic change, and I've seen it now in the legislature. And so how do we change that around so that the people understand they have to take control of their own environment, their own politics, and that's going to take some years to turn around. I think with Joe Biden, who's not oriented towards feeding that monster, we have an opportunity. But it's only an opportunity. We still got to do the hard work. When somebody complains or bitches to me about a legislator, I have now starting to say, well, you put that legislator there. I didn't. You need to take responsibility. And so I think it's a citizen issue. Our citizens need to take charge. And we have to be careful that we don't lay it all on this elected official. These elected officials got there because of the votes.
Well,
and so
you taught me a long time ago that your name doesn't have to be on a bill to make sure the bill's right. You taught me a long time ago that just because you're in the minority doesn't mean you can't make sure things end up the way they should be. And I know that's your passion, and I'm thankful for the fact that you're there working on it, because these people are our neighbors, they're our friends, they're our fellow Americans, and quite frankly, they deserve to be treated as the human beings they are. And so thank you.
And we need them.
Yes, and we need them. Tim, thanks. Thanks for taking time out, and
okay.
I'll send you some cans of SpaghettiOs, okay, for doing
okay.
it?
Take care. Bye.
State Senator Tim Mathern. When we come back, let's head up to Devil's Lake. The Fishing Derby has been canceled. That's a bummer. Been there, done it, loved it. Let's talk about it when we come back here down the road.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's we talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Good to have you still going down the road with us. You're about to see, if not the coolest hat you're ever going to see on this Down the Road show, certainly one of the, it's the coolest hat that I've ever seen on this Down the Road show. Nathan Bennett's going to join us right now. He's the Devils Lake Fire Department captain. And check out that hat, that Devils Lake Volunteer Fire Department hat. You got, Nathan, I want one of those, and I'm not one of the volunteers, so I'm not going to get one, I realize.
These ones are actually the ones you can buy from Decorated Wearables.
So I can find one.
Yep, absolutely.
It's got the fishing hook on the D. That's what I really jumps out at me.
Yep, I believe you can get these ones. If they don't have these ones, they have some other ones that are similar to these.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm digging it. That's all I'm saying. Now, the tournament got canceled. You know, people, you know, I live, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes to Grand Forks, and then it's another 90 minutes to you. And I've been to the tourney. I mean, a lot of us put that on our calendar and say, hey, can we make it this year? That's a big deal when you cancel the Devils Lake Fishing Derby or tournament. Why? What happened here?
So we've been checking the ice for the last month, and the milder temperatures that we've been having haven't given us the ice that we need to be able to safely put on the tournament. We still have good ice. It's just not thick enough for us to put that amount of people out on the ice with the equipment and stuff driving around.
So safety first is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Now, you had to have gotten pushback on that. I mean, people live for this tourney. I mean, did you just put your cell phone away for a week, or what did you do?
Surprisingly, we got more support to cancel it than we did to push on with it. Just due to the mild temperatures and a lot of people that have been out fishing lately, and then the big number of vehicles that have been going through in the last 2 months, a lot of people were very supportive of it, actually.
Excuse me. I think a lot of people haven't seen the amount of vehicles that have gone through. Tell people what's been going on Devils Lake.
There's been a few. They get over by the pressure ridges, over by the bridges where they shouldn't be driving, or they're not checking in front of them. And obviously, when you get too close to that thin ice, you drop in.
Yeah. You know, I live by a lake, and I'm out there fishing a lot. I've got my big fish house out there now, but I took it out with the four-wheeler. I didn't take it out there with the pickup. And when I got it set up where I was drilling, what was interesting was I had it out earlier before we got into that week of, 30 and up weather to, where we were in the 40s, so I took the house off, Nathan. And when I took the house off, I thought, okay, I'm going to wait till she gets a little cold. It did. It got cold for about that week. I went back out there and I found the depth to be exactly what it was. It was at 11 inches. It wasn't making ice. And so I think I saw exactly what you saw just south of you.
Yeah, like I said, we've been monitoring the ice, and it was about a week there where we built maybe an inch. And then coming into last Saturday when we decided to cancel, we just weren't seeing the numbers that we wanted to safely have the tournament.
So for people like you and I that know, you know about the tournament, you put the tournament on. For me who has attended, a lot of people haven't been there. Describe to people what this tournament is and how many people on any given tournament you have there.
So we get probably on average about 4,000 fishermen in that area at one time, which is a big number of people. And actually, you can go onto our website, and there's a small video on there of a drone flying over that area showing all the people. Plus, we have a bait shack out there. We have a hard shell fish house that they do the weigh station out of. And then we got security guys that are driving around on side-by-sides, four-wheelers. We borrow a lot of equipment to be able to go out and do security, so that it's a lot of weight on the ice.
Yeah, I can about imagine it. It's just going to be missed. Have the fish been biting at Devil's Lake? What are you hearing?
They have. It's been off and on. It depends on when you go out. It really does. But yeah, I've been out with my sons a couple times, and we've had pretty good luck. And then we've been out other times where we catch just little tiny ones.
So it's fishing, is what you're telling me.
Yep.
It's exactly how it works. It's one of the top 5 fisheries in the nation, not just North Dakota or the upper Midwest, in the nation, one of the top 5 fisheries. And so people really, they look forward to coming to Devil's Lake. I get that. So what's going to happen? If you buy a ticket, are you still going to do something? Is there going to be some drawings? I mean, can people still participate in another way?
Yep, absolutely. So if you bought a raffle ticket or the ticket itself, which is one and the same, what we're going to do is before we start drawing for the raffle, we're going to draw for the fishing derby prizes. So there's those 15 prizes that we're going to draw for. Once those people get announced that they won, then we're going to take all those names of the people that won the fishing derby prizes. They're going to go back in the drum because they have to be eligible to win the raffle.
Okay.
So you could potentially, if you're lucky enough, end up with a pickup and a Ford Bronco.
So, I mean, I realize if you like fishing, it's not as good, but if you like buying a ticket and having a chance to win, this is even better, is what you're telling me.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So where do people go to get that ticket? Let's tell them.
So we are actually sold out right now.
Okay.
But if you go on to our website, our tickets come out in October, and it's usually about mid to late December, and we're sold out of tickets.
So where does your brother-in-law live so I can go get his ticket? Because you never liked him anyway, right?
Right. There's a couple that live down in Fargo.
Nathan, you're looking out for people, and that's what fire departments do. So thank you. Next year we'll be up there. How's that?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to next year already. So
Nathan Bennett, ladies and gentlemen, one of the good ones. When we come back, Josh Boucher, we're going to talk to him about what's going on and some of these anti-voting bills. When we come back, right here as we go down the road.
Howdy, folks. It's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the County Line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering is the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to Down the Road. He's the leader. He's the House Minority Leader. That's Josh Boucher. Josh, or representative, I suppose I should say. We've known each other for quite a while now. Good to have you coming down the road with us.
Thanks, Joel. Always good to be on and look forward to visiting about all the happenings here in Bismarck.
Well, I do. I want to talk about some of that because on my radio show today, the calls started coming in, mostly from what I will call elderly voices. You know how you can sense that on a radio talk show. But people really concerned that there was changes being made to their right to vote without leaving their house. You know, and that North Dakota was getting really aggressive about taking away some of those rights. What's going on? I haven't picked up on this at all. What's happening there?
Yeah, it's crazy, Joe. There's 20 bills right now that impact that further limit voting in the state of North Dakota. And none of us can wrap our mind around this because it's things like no more vote by mail unless you have a specific excuse. No more early vote, or early voting is shut down to like a week instead of 2 weeks. If you vote, you only have 30 minutes. Another bill says you only have 90 minutes to vote, so you can't, and then they have other things where they want to put the entire constitutional language on the ballot. So you're only going to have 30 minutes to read 60 pages of a ballot to know what you're voting on. It's a mess. And I don't get it, Joel, because this is the election system that the majority party won out of, created by them. I mean, it works great. Everyone got to vote. There were no complaints this last election. Dealing with a pandemic, things seemed to work well, and we had record turnout. Now they're trying to limit that.
So, instantly from the outside looking in, not being on the ground like you are every day where you're interacting with these folks, clearly these guys got red hats in their rigs, right? I mean, they're MAGA all the way through. Is this all about the presidency are they after Al Jaeger, Secretary of State of North Dakota, a little bit here? I mean, like you said, this system put them in a position where they have a supermajority. So, one other, is this about money? Is this about, hey, if we do this, some of these ultra-right groups will write us out some checks? I mean, what is this about?
I think it continues to play into the division we're seeing within the Republican Party. This is coming from one faction who, like I said, whether they're going after the Secretary of State's office or other things, but they cannot articulate that these are problems in North Dakota. These are problems that we've heard about on news channels in other states with this last election, but not in North Dakota. And so it's confusing to me that, again, we have 20 different bills introduced to try to fix a system that seems to work very well, and a system that North Dakotans like. I mean, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green Party. People like our voter system because it's great access, and they can do it whether they're, working in the field and voting in the tractor, or from home on the couch, or go vote in person on Election Day.
You have some of the best attorneys that the state of North Dakota has available to you. The Legislative Council is They work for you as legislators. What are they saying? Because I've never met a group of people more bipartisan. They don't wear any politics on their sleeve. I was there for 14 years, had no clue what their politics were, which I think is a real credit to them about the job they do. But what are they saying in regards to the constitutionality of this? Will this stand up to the courts if, in fact, these people try to take away those voting rights?
Well, they haven't said much because we try not to put them in the position of, like you said, they're a very nonpartisan group. They want to do their work and they do it really well. But when you do start asking questions about constitutionality, you can pick up on some nonverbals. And we have a track record of any time we try to, whether it's in North Dakota or anywhere else in the country, to restrict someone's ability to vote, lawsuits follow. And then the state of North Dakota pays for that lawsuit when we lose it. And we don't only pay for the legal fees, we're usually paying a nonprofit that advocates for whatever we're trying to fight. So in this case, a voting rights organization is going to get a $200,000 check from the state of North Dakota. So it's essentially funding these organizations that help bring these lawsuits to make sure folks have voter access.
Sure. So money. Representative Boucher, the bonding bill, they promised a certain amount, and now it seems that they're backing that up, that they're walking it back. Walk me through what's going on here.
Yeah, so first of all, there's a variety of ideas out there as far as bonding. Us as the Democratic Caucus came out this last summer, Senator Tim Mathern leading on that, saying, just like everyone else is refinancing their mortgage right now or buying a new home because interest rates are super low, the state of North Dakota should look at refinancing, should look at how do we do repairs and renovations. And so by bonding, we're borrowing over the long term, and we use the legacy fund earnings, a small portion of that, to pay down that debt every year. But that's going to allow us to build roads, build bridges, fix bridges. There's about $800 million of deferred maintenance on our roads just for this next biennium alone. So what we're seeing is that our GOP colleagues, they had an idea, the governor had an idea, and now because of the House Republicans are trimming that down even smaller. So that shows me that we're going to get some sort of bonding mechanism out of this session, but it'll be pretty small and it's going to be pretty focused, specifically on water projects is what the conversation is right now.
How much money's in the legacy fund right now? How much?
Probably just broke $8 billion the other day. I mean,
The reason I ask is because $8 billion and we're afraid of taking on virtually interest-free debt to put in infrastructure when we know that infrastructure goes up at least 5% every year to build. Absolutely. I mean, we can forget about interest, which you make a fabulous point, but just the sheer cost of doing it goes up 5% every year. So I don't get why the governor's allowing them to walk this back. Is that ground that we can win on? Is that ground that the people of North Dakota can fight on and win on?
I think so. They got to reach out to their legislators. I think, you know how it is when we get out in Bismarck, it kind of becomes an echo chamber. And very much so even more now with COVID, where there's very few people in the hallways, lobbyists aren't even around much. So, we're having conversations with ourselves. So it's important to hear from your listeners from our legislative districts to talk about, I want to save money. If you want true property tax reduction, this is a way that we can finance the water project in your community, or make sure that new road gets built out to that new development and isn't assessed on the backs of you as a property owner.
Right. And property taxes are one thing that we always hear about. This is a perfect example of taking away those property taxes. I want to talk to you a little bit about local control, because that's what Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota, talks about all the time. Get the federal government out of our hair, local control, we can make our own decisions. Well, in South Dakota, the people did. They voted to make recreational marijuana legal. They voted it in. Now she's going through the courts to try to sue them because Lord knows they don't know what they're doing, because local control doesn't matter today. In North Dakota, I think people are seeing what happened in South Dakota, and they're raising the question of, could this happen here? And if it does happen here, should we get ahead of it? I want your take on that, because it appears that some of these marijuana bills have a little momentum behind them.
They do, and it's coming from an interesting spot. So yeah, there is a a marijuana legalization for small amounts of marijuana bill that's been introduced by the House Republicans, which tends to be a fairly conservative group, and then a side-by-side bill we just approved yesterday through the Delayed Bills Committee to tie taxation as part of that. And yeah, there's a number of my Republican colleagues who are supporting it, not because they support the idea of legalizing marijuana, but they recognize that if we don't do something, the voters are going to vote on something, and it might even be in the Constitution, which then we can't, parlance to make it work for North Dakota. This way, at least we get to be a part of the conversation and have it be something that works.
So where's your caucus at? Will they support it?
I think so. There's a lot of interest in supporting this from a criminal justice standpoint, as well as we know that people are out there consuming marijuana. So we're not going to stop that. But if we can regulate it well and people can get a product that's safe, it's a way that we can worry about some of those small crimes or what we consider crimes now, and allow law enforcement and our behavioral health system to really work on folks that really need help from addiction and recovery services.
That horse is so out of the barn. People that grew up in a culture of, hey, it's okay to smoke marijuana, are old people in society now. And so they look at themselves in the mirror and it isn't Ray and Doreen Heitkamp that are saying, oh, marijuana, It's people that are my age now that are the older people that said, yeah, I saw it at a party, And so you're right. It's going to happen. That horse is out of the barn. Representative Boucher, keep fighting the good fight. We need you to keep fighting that fight. Appreciate you coming down the road with us.
Thanks, Joel. Have a great day.
You bet. I want to talk about the vote when we come back that happened in the United States Senate over whether or not there should be an impeachment trial. We'll talk about it when we come back right here as we go down the road.
Howdy folks, it's a Caneline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caneline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef in all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Well, we only have a little bit left in this trip as we go down the road, but there was a vote, and there was a vote yesterday in the United States Senate in relation to where they go with this impeachment trial, whether or not there would in fact be a trial, because they can reject it. It's just, but they didn't get the votes, obviously, to do that because the Democrats hold the majority. Didn't take a supermajority to cancel it. Here's the thing that you really need to pay attention to. 45 Republican United States senators voted to just say, get it out of here. We're not doing it. We're not going to hold a trial. 45 United States senators. Now, do we need to show you more images of what happened on January 6th? Of what happened with that insurrection? What happened with that attempted coup in our nation? I mean, are we just supposed to forget about that? I mean, think about that. We've got a man that was president of the United States that told those folks to go down there. Told them to be strong and go down there. Then we've got another man who's his attorney, Rudy Giuliani, said that we need a trial by combat. So we're going to try these congressmen and women by combat. They were out to kill Mike Pence. That's what they were out to do. They were out to kill Nancy Pelosi. Now, for some of you, it's like, well, Nancy Pelosi, but Mike Pence, who could be more loyal than Mike Pence? The fact that you would accept them being out to kill either one of them is just flat out wrong. The president's son said, we're coming to get you. That's all there, ladies and gentlemen. And so to ignore this, nobody attempts a coup unless they've lost the election and are on their way out. As you heard earlier in the program today, you know what? It's legal to impeach this president. And if I were the GOP nationwide, I'd want this impeachment. And then the vote I'd want next is to make sure that Donald Trump can't hold office again. If I were the Democrats, keep him around. Let him be your spokesperson. It's good riding with you, folks.